We have some breaking news.
Ooh.
You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Byron Leftwich, currently an unemployed coach, is interviewing for the Patriots head coaching job today, according to Mike Jones of The Athletic. That says to me the Patriots are going to move fast on Mike Vrabel, as promised, and this search, based on the little information that we have, which might not be the complete picture, are ready to hire him maybe by the end of this week. That's how I read into this. The key will be, of course, if this interview with Byron Leftwich is in person, like we talked about at the beginning. If it is, they just satisfied half of the recruiting.
Yeah, I mean, so it brings me back to the word of sham, right? Like Byron Leftwich has been out of football. And I know, like, Todd Bowles is, and there was just a story on him, I believe, in the last week or so, sort of like re-announcing his candidacy to come back into the league. And Bruce Arians, who was his mentor, quoted like, "This is ridiculous that he doesn't have a head coaching job. It's ridiculous that he's not in the league. But this is an easy way to check a box." Because I just, you're going to hire someone who's never been a head coach. You just did that. Not only that, but the guy's been out of the league for at least, I think, 2 seasons, right? So,
yeah. Also, I would say probably close to Tom Brady, who might have, again, purely reckless speculation, called in a favor for his pal Robert. But look,
and maybe and maybe Byron Leftwich says some things that make them think, "Ooh, what's Vrabel's plan as an offensive coordinator?" And maybe, hey, Mike, you might want to talk to Byron before we finalize things. Maybe, Byron showed you some things.
He was on a staff that won a Super Bowl, right? Like, it had a big role in that. Like, this is not discounting Byron Leftwich, again, currently unemployed, as a football coach or a football mind. Like, worked very well with Brady and a lot of talent.
And Mike Vrabel can pick up the phone and talk to Tom Brady about him. So there's
yes, it's just a way of saying this is moving fast. Like, if you wanted this search simply to be a means to a very specific end, not open-minded, not open-ended, you want to get this done, this is a step you would take. That's what this says to me. A couple more items. Monday morning, before we get to Robert, actually, let's go back to the press conference. He deflects on Vrabel specifically, says, "Oh, we're going to talk to a bunch of people I don't really know anything about, so I want to meet them before I comment on Mike." Okay. No input, he says in the season finale. I took that as one of two things. He doesn't want to give any kind of voice to what was an obvious tank job by the Patriots, just not as effective as the Bills. Or he was told by Giardi and Elliott ahead of time, "Hey, we're going to do this." Because that's how the communication goes, right? You tell everyone up above what you're going to do, okay? And it sounds like that conversation was had. He also said status quo. So coaching staff right now is in place. Front office is in place. Alex Van Pelt, not fired. Again, Alex Van Pelt, not fired. And that was it. Did I miss anything?
Alex Van Pelt's not fired.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, did you say that?
Back to the locker room Monday morning. Mixed. Again, you wrote about it. You got really great quotes, insightful quotes that were off the record. David Andrews goes for 15, 20 minutes as the guy you want, the kind of leaders that they need in the locker room. Devon Gotcha talking about culture. Guys admitted that's what it is. Christian Gonzalez had this smile on his face while talking about Gerard Mayo being fired, even though he was saying good things. I don't really want to read into that. I will say this because I don't think this will become public. Jelani Tavai, as he was packing up his things, and all the guys had these big trash bags and the stuff that, obviously you're throwing away or stuff you want to take home, and you leave the team stuff in the locker room. Generally, sometimes you pick and choose. Was being how would you put it? Babysat?
Yeah.
Monitored. There was a human buffer if you wanted to talk to Jelani Tavai on the last day of availability. I don't know if this is because ownership didn't trust him to speak for himself or if they didn't want the reporters just talking to him, period. Is it more about us or is it more about him? Whatever the case was, I had never seen this before. I had never heard of it. But one and at times 2 security guards parked by him while everyone else goes in and out of the locker room, coaches, players, too many media. We're both there. No one got a word into him. A couple people tried. Oh, he's busy. He's packing. Leave him alone.
Whew. Yep. Pretty absurd and interesting. So I'll reference my article again that's in Boston Sports Journal today. I was talking to a coach and the Tavai blasting the fans came up and he said, he called it crazy, the coach did. And he said that, I understand he had his heart in the right place, but he turned an unsuccessful team into, and this was his words, into an unlikable one. And they might have been unlikable before that, but that certainly just sort of encapsulated what had been, just a horrific ending. You'd lost 6 straight coming into the finale against Buffalo, and any hopes and dreams of being better than what Belichick put out the year before, or showing signs of life had clearly gone out the window. And I just thought it was interesting that, like, look, I think guys have Jelani's back in terms of he's a warrior. He goes out there, he plays hard. He doesn't.
Drake May called him the toughest guy on the team earlier this year.
Yeah, he's well. I commend him. He played hard all year long. Win, lose, draw. Didn't play well, particularly at times, but played hard all year long. But it was sort of just kind of like the bow on this wonderful present of a season that we had.
Yeah. All right. Sunday night, you and I and a lot of other people are writing in the press box. I found out walking on the concourse underneath the stands to go back to the press box. News pops up. Adam Schefter, boom, fired. Schefter's report pregame certainly set off alarm bells for me. And in speaking with some people within the team, set off alarm bells for them, being like, Schefter doesn't lean. And that's how he put it. Like, it's definitive. And he's whiffed, and he's had reports that are very transparently a favor to an agent or this coach or whatever. And reporters in various spots dabble here and there. I say this as someone who has obviously the utmost respect for his general work and will break more news in the future than I will or ever have. So when that set off alarm bells in the building, I don't know how it affected, if at all, the players and the staff, but that was the most definitive, hey, this is more likely to happen than not, that we got from any kind of reporting. And we saw what the game was. But how did, from the time his first report to the last one, kind of shift what you were expecting or thinking, and anything that you heard in between?
Yeah, so to me, I thought it was going to happen. I just didn't expect it to happen 90 minutes after the football game. I think that was sort of, and even with that being put out there, I'm like, when I first read it, I'm like, is he just, I mean, he's just saying what we know is going to happen, but it's still not going to happen until Tuesday or Wednesday. And that was my vibe. My feeling was that he wouldn't quite get the Belichick treatment and drag it out for several days out of sort of respect for Bill. And they obviously had to negotiate some things behind the scenes, but like, oh, I made this so personal, I'm just not going to pop him right away. Yeah. I'm going to pretend like I'm giving him a chance to save himself and save his coaching staff, or come up with other plans and sort of feed it to the media in that regard, and then do what I was going to do all along, which was say, thanks for your service, but it's not working. So I guess that sort of pushed it more like, oh, this could happen a little bit sooner than I thought. But again, I still did not think it was going to happen 90 minutes after the game. You said you were on the concourse. I don't go back up into the press box post game. After I come down, I go locker room, bounce between the locker room and the press conference room where the players come and Mayo comes, like head coaches. And then I write in there. I just tend to, it's Dan Roach is doing TV. It's Dan Roach, his 3 other people, his crew members, and it's me in that room generally. And, it's just sort of my habit. I don't, this is going to sound, I don't like to hear other people's like pounding on their keyboards.
Click, clack. Yeah.
It drives me nuts. I like to just sort of be in my own world and listen to Roachy say dumb things to me while I have my headphones on.
Reese is in there too. Very fair. Yeah.
Legitimately, all of a sudden, I just happened to look down and I was like, oh, and I called Bedard and I was like, it happened. He's like, get out. I was like, no, he was obviously doing his thing and not looking at Twitter. And, then it was sort of, okay, I've already written 700 words here. I'm going to have to, sort of pivot and try to get something out quicker. But yeah, and look, I think we've seen here in the last 24 hours or so, just the player reaction of being just a shock. Like, we didn't get to say goodbye. He went, by all accounts, Mayo went to his coaches in the area where they're having food after the game and was like, just got fired. And it was like, oh, like, not that they didn't necessarily think it was coming, but
yeah,
they just didn't think it was going to happen in that moment.
So before then, Patriots win a football game. Joe Milton, but balls out. Highest passer rating any Patriots quarterback produced all season.
Yeah.
Had to hit the Bazooka Joe. Patriots also lost out in the number 1 overall pick. And we'll get a final thought after this. It's a big loss. I don't think there was much more you could have done reasonably to tank that game. Playing a quarterback who had never played before, Onwenu sitting after one drive. Same with Drake May, Reminder Stevenson, Hunter Henry don't even play. You go on the defensive side, Duggar, Godchow sit at halftime. It was just that the Bills were playing for incentives for their punter, Josh Allen's personal streak. James Cook gets another touchdown, and they're passing up field goals again to give their punter a $100,000 incentive. So you tanked worse than them. Joe Milton plays better than anyone expected. The fourth pick is worth a lot less. And by the old Jimmy Johnson chart, that drop off is worth the 12th overall pick. Like, that's how many points in the trade value chart. The modern ones say a little bit less. But the point is, in a 1 or 2 quarterback draft class, you lost the potential to add, I would say, at least a future first round pick. How, I don't want to say devastating, it's a bit strong. Damning is that for the future? Or how does that limit the rebuild in a way that keeping the number 1 overall pick would have helped?
I mean, obviously slows your potential to get better, faster with cost-controlled players. Even as you mentioned, picking 12th that's still significantly. You're paying that guy significantly more money than you would pay a second, third round pick or whatever. But I think I was one of the few people, if not the only one, and I know people yelled at me, and I get it. I did not want them to tank the game. I think to your point, he managed the game about as well as he could. You can't tell the guys we're trying to lose, or you can't even necessarily like, okay, yeah, we're benching guys, we're sitting guys, we're not going to play these guys. So you kind of know, like, hey, we're not all in.
It's unspoken.
But the 53, whatever, the number that's out there, the players that are out there, I'm out here. I'm putting out my tape. Like, you can't tell Joe Milton, like, what's Joe Milton going to do if you say on 3rd and 8, we're just going to run, first and second and third down, we're just going to run fullback dives. Like, you have to call the game with some sort of integrity. And they did. And I think, as you said, I think Joe played a lot better than anybody could have imagined. So I think it became apparent early on, like, oh, he's in a good groove. And there was probably not enough talk going into it about the Bills. We knew the Bills didn't give a crap.
Yeah.
But I don't know that we knew the extent that they wouldn't give a crap. And yeah, they out tanked you. They when you're passing up points, which
they put in Mike White, who they signed off the street or to their practice squad, whatever it was, like 2 weeks ago. Yeah, they're like, Mitch Trubisky is too good for us to tank right now. That's how they were tanking.
By the way, Mitch Trubisky's still the quarterback after all these years that on 3rd and 15, he throws the ball 7 yards. On 3rd and 8, he throws it 4 yards. On 3rd and 4, he throws it 2 yards. Anyway, neither here nor there. They did a better job of out-tanking you. I didn't think they'd want to win the game. I didn't realize how much they wanted you to win the game. And it makes sense, right? I don't want to give you the number 1 pick. I just didn't know that they would go to the lengths that they did to ensure that you ended up with that, falling from 1 to 4.
Yeah, me neither. All right. In the process of doing this podcast, I have now 2 things to write up as soon as we're done. So we're going to wrap here. Again, if we said it earlier, Byron Leftwich is going to interview with the Patriots today. Not clear yet if it's in person or if it's virtual. You might find out by the time you listen to this. Marcus Covington interviewing for the Bengals defensive coordinator job, as well as Patrick Graham, who's more qualified and just a better coach right now. And Mike Vrabel interviewing tomorrow with the Bears, with the Patriots sometime this week. Anything we didn't cover or didn't spend enough time on about just what's happened in the last 72 hours with this franchise?
I'm trying to think if we missed anything. I feel like we had a good long talk. No, I don't think. I think we covered it. I think we nailed it.
That's what I was hoping to hear. I have to go.
All right, but go right. Go right.
Where can we listen and read you and anything else coming up?
So we did the All 32 pod yesterday on the Mayo firing and other happenings around the league. We'll have another one later in the week. Had the article today on Boston Sports Journal, sort of the behind the scenes commentary on what happened. And, we'll just be all over like you. I have to write now too. I just wasn't complaining about it, about things that are happening. And I do expect quickly, right? Do you think you said Friday, like Monday feels like
Vrabel?
Yeah, it feels like that might be the day.
Just a feeling. End of the week. Like, again, the timeline can be expedited as soon as you meet the criteria for the Rooney Rule and all this different stuff. They could be halfway there. But if Byron Leftwich only interviews virtually, doesn't count. So that's a big thing here. Again, it's just if you wanted to expedite this as quickly as possible and get your guy and get rebuilding, which I understand. This is how you would act as far as we know, but there's a lot more information still to come out. Granted, also, we'll see what Vrabel demands or already has demanded and whether or not they're willing to meet that. So there's still a long way to go, but this today has gone faster than I would expect. I want to caution anyone just tempted to pull a tiny piece of this podcast out there. Just drag a little context there with it. That's all.
Yeah, good luck with that.
All right, good luck to you. Thanks, man.
Thanks, bud.